I gotta say, guys, truthfully, OpenAI blew my mind on Monday. I don't know about you, but their real-time companion, their her clone, shocked me to say the least.
I want to introduce you to somebody.
Oh, hello there, cutie. What's your name, little fluffball?
This is Bowser.
Well, hello, Bowser. Aren't you just the most adorable little thing?
I did do a full video, recapping the event, but as it turns out, there is a lot more to uncover here than first meets the eye. For example, did you know that this model can somehow generate images? And gosh, they're the best AI-generated images I've ever seen, point blank period. What's going on? There's also quite a few other capabilities that OpenAI just kind of kept under wraps, so let's start out here with what we do know. First of all, obviously we know that the model that's powering everything under the hood, this insane real-time AI assistant, is called GPT-4o, and O stands for Omni. And the reason they called it Omni is because it's the first truly multimodal AI. In simple terms, actually brought to you by GPT-4o itself, multimodal just means that the AI can understand and generate more than one type of data. Instead of just working with text, for example, GPT-4o can process images, it can understand audio natively, and it can even sort of interpret video. The old GPT-4 Turbo was split into 2 or 3 separate models, I'm not precisely sure. It might have been taking images in natively, or it might have been using a separate model to parse those images into text. Don't really know. Either way, we absolutely know for a fact that it did not natively support audio. Yes, the old GPT-4 app did have the ability for you to talk to it with your voice, but that was using a separate model that was called Whisper v3 that would just take your audio and transcribe it into text. Don't get me wrong, it was great at taking your voice and transcribing it into text, but that is all it did. It can't hear the sound of birds, for example. It can't hear your dog barking. It can't hear your tone of voice. This new model, for example, can understand your breathing patterns and even more, which we'll get into later.
Just take a deep breath.
I like that suggestion. Let me try a couple deep breaths. Can you give me feedback on my breaths? Okay, here I go.
Whoa, slow do a bit there. Mark, you're not a vacuum cleaner. Breathe in for a count of 4.
Okay, let me try again. So I'm gonna breathe in deeply, and then breathe out.
For 4, and then exhale slowly.
Okay, I'll try again. Breathing in, and breathe out.
That's it. How do you feel?
I feel a lot better.
And of course, it can also understand the emotions that you put behind your words, which is possibly the most important part about this. It will react differently when you're sad. It will react differently when you're excited. It will react differently when you're yelling and screaming at it. Very human indeed. This is uncharted territory. The first mind blow of capabilities that I want to show you is going to be the text generation. Models have been doing this for years, so you might think, so what? It generates text. Even the benchmarks were just as good as the other leading models. It's not like it's leaps and bounds better. Even the context length is the same size. It's not a bad context length of 128,000 tokens, but it's no better, so what's the big deal? Well, here's the rub on text generation with GPT-4 Omni. This model is lightning fast. When I say lightning fast, I mean this thing generates 2 paragraphs a second, and the outputs, yes, are just as good as leading models. Multiple times faster. And this opens up entirely brand new branches of what is actually possible with text generation. So let's dive into a few of them. So a bunch of these examples are going to come from this Twitter thread by Min Choi that's going to be linked down below. I always link Twitter threads down below if you want to check them out. Highly recommend following this guy, by the way. Phenomenal AI account, and also follow me on Twitter as well, because I am always reposting great stuff. So first up, this is Sawyer Hood's ultimate LLM test. Ask it to make a Facebook Messenger as a single HTML file. GPT-4o does this all in 6 seconds flat. Again, not only fast text generation, but high quality. It actually works. You open up Facebook Messenger as a single HTML. I mean, that's just absolutely insane, right? GPT-4 Omni can also generate fully blown charts and statistical analyses from spreadsheets with a single prompt in less than 30 seconds. Zane here points out that this stuff used to take absolute ages in Excel, but it can now all be done automatically by your AI. And yes, the old GPT-4 Turbo could absolutely do this, but it couldn't do it this quickly. And also, it wasn't able to do it this accurately either. Yeah, you start getting charts in about 6 seconds from an actual shoe company sales CSV file. And these charts aren't bad either. They're actually what I would consider to be usable in a real company meeting, and they're diverse, even giving you a summary with key insights. It's like an entire breakdown in 20 seconds. Fast, high-quality generation. This is leaps and bounds ahead. Oh, and folks, you thought we were done there? Well, it gets even crazier. This is from Taylin on Twitter, Pokemon Red gameplay. So essentially, this is like a custom prompt to make GPT-4 Omni play Pokemon Red as a text-based game. Watch this. As you can see, it essentially boots up Pokemon Red there. Look at this. New game, continue our options. It's a text-based game. It even does its best to try to include pictures by using emojis, but it can do it so fast that you can essentially play the game in real time. Oh, we select A, and then it says, oh, you know, some people Pokemon are pets, others use them as fights. It's literally the Pokemon Red game, and you just keep entering your A choice, and then you can actually put your name in. We're literally just going to use a custom name in this example, and it's like, okay, yep, following along here. The whole Pokemon Red game is converted into a text-based adventure game like that inside of the LLM, and it's running in real time. Like, what is going on here? It even has Route 1 all laid out correctly with the houses, Oak's lab, the beach. This is indeed a very, very impressive example. You can see it even has the fight or use item, and you can have the HP. You can essentially play an entire Pokemon Red game just converted to text-based inside of an AI with just a little bit of prompting, which is absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, this is more or less what's possible with the API. I'm sure you could get ChatGPT to do this with a special prompt or with a custom GPT, but obviously this here was done by using the API instead. And I think that's what you guys have to realize here is that this is more than just ChatGPT. People are going to be able to build some insane things. Imagine a new from the ground up game that lets you take a photo of your dog and then use your dog as the Pokemon, and the AI comes up with all of its abilities on the fly. I mean, the possibilities are endless. And by the way, guys, this is merely just the beginning. How good will these models be in a year? Imagine when the text generation isn't just way faster and just as good, but way better and also way faster. The era of rapid AI development is upon us. Oh, and by the way, speaking on the API, the new GPT-4 Omni is not only faster and just as good, but it's actually half as cheap as GPT-4 Turbo, which was even cheaper than the original GPT-4. So we're seeing a rapid decrease in how much it costs to actually run these powerful models. And folks, that's just text. Let's get into the audio generation capabilities that GPT-4 Omni holds. Now we're dipping our toes into the multimodal landscape. Again, uncharted territory for sure. As we saw in the demo, it produces remarkably high quality human sounding audio.
The model is able to generate voice in a variety of different emotive styles. Hey, ChatGPT, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking. How about you?
And I want you to tell him a bedtime story about robots and love.
Once upon a time, in a world not too different from ours.
But I want a little bit more emotion in your voice, a little bit more drama.
Once upon a time, in a world not too different from ours, there was a robot named Bite.
No, ChatGPT. I really want maximal emotion, like maximal expressiveness, much more than you were doing before.
Once upon a time, in a world not too different from ours, there was a robot.
Can you do this in a robotic voice now?
Initiating dramatic robotic voice.
It's a way more natural way not only to interact with a ChatGPT style model, but there's even more that OpenAI kind of kept under wraps. As Smokeaway points out, GPT-4o will be able to generate audio for any image you input, bringing your images to life. Hear the sounds of a scenic landscape, hear the noises of a bustling cyberpunk city. The possibilities are endless. And I'd like to make a note that yes, it does seem a little bit hopeful that you'll just be able to speak to it and be like, hey, can you generate this audio for me? The model will probably try its best, but it seems like right now it's more fine-tuned for voice. That doesn't mean it can't be fine-tuned for sound effects capabilities in the future. It's native audio generation. It's it's not just some robotic text-to-speech. It might even be able to generate music in the future as well. But not only this, if we dive even a little bit deeper, we'll note that here, for example, on the OpenAI GPT-4o announcement site, under explorations of capabilities, they have meeting notes with multiple speakers. So we have a 1-minute meeting.
Okay, good morning. Here's our first team meeting.
Morning.
Morning. I'll be your project manager for today, for this project. My name is Mark, and I'll be giving this presentation for you to kick the project off.
During this project, the marketing expert
designer, I'm going to look at the technical design.
And that's some bad audio, to be honest. I can barely differentiate the voices. It's not very clear. We basically just ask it, how many speakers in this audio and what happened? The output is actually able to determine it. GPT-4o says there are 4 speakers in the audio. It sounds like a project meeting where the project manager, Mark, is introducing himself and asking the team members to introduce themselves, and so on and so forth. We further then go and say, can you transcribe it with speaker names? And yes, it's able to differentiate all of those speakers. So not only will it be able to understand your voice in a very natural way and understand your tone of voice, but it'll actually be able to understand what you sound like and differentiate you between other people, which is really big. That means you can have those multiple speaker conversations like we saw in the demo, and I think a lot of people, when they saw that, didn't really realize what was going on there. But it is indeed differentiating this person versus the next person. And the differences probably between how they speak. There's a lot of nuances there that there are to uncover, and you don't really realize it all at first. We've also got another sample, which is a lecture summarization, which is something that AI's been doing for a long time. But this is quite a long lecture, alright? 45 minutes of audio. And I gotta say, it does a pretty darn good job giving the entire breakdown for this presentation. I really would have loved it if in this demonstration they showed an example of Whisper trying to do the same thing. Wrapping it all in one model allows it to reason about the audio where Whisper just can't, and that allows you to have this ability to recreate the presentation displayed right out in front of you. And furthermore, I want to think about when we actually start to get access to this thing. I'm going to try to do things like have it listen to a dog barking and say, can you try to recreate that for me? Because we can all try to bark like a dog, right? Will it sound like a human trying to bark like a dog? Will it actually bark like a dog? Will it be able to hear when my dog is barking in the background? Will it be able to hear when a car goes by? Can it hear fire alarms and wake someone who's deaf up and be like, hey, you gotta get moving? These are the questions we have, and I can't wait to get deeper access to this thing. But it really truly is so much more than meets the eye, so much more than what they actually showed off in that original demo video. And a lot of people unfortunately missed that. I wish they went into just a little bit more detail in their presentation. So as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, this thing can also mysteriously generate images. Now, the folks at OpenAI absolutely do not call this DALL-E 4. This is not an iteration of the DALL-E model. This is GPT-4o. They keep insisting that it's the Omni model. And this is just weird to me because the image generation that GPT-4 Omni is producing is actually insanely good. The only conclusion that I can draw is because this is a natively multimodal model, it has the connections of the text, it has the connections of the audio, it understands the world in a much better way than just a DALL-E 3 image generation model would. So the image generation capabilities are just way smarter. I mean, mind-blowingly smarter. Out of everything in today's video, I think this might blow the most minds. We're gonna go ahead and start off with this tweet right here. This is from Greg Brockman, okay? He is the president and co-founder at OpenAI. So much to explore with GPT-4o's image generation capabilities alone. Team is working hard to bring those to the world, so this means no image generation from GPT-4o yet, but maybe later this year if we're lucky. Take a nice look at this image, folks. It's doing some mighty impressive things. Not only does it look very photorealistic, but if we zoom in here, we can see a lot of really nice, well-written text that looks like someone actually is writing on a chalkboard. Transfer between modalities. Suppose we directly model P, text, pixel, sound with one big autoregressive transformer, which this is a hint at what they did to make GPT-4 Omni. What are the pros and cons? You can see this looks like a guy who is writing it right on the whiteboard, and he's got an OpenAI shirt on. There's a graph here with compute going up, and it just looks like a photo zoomed in and taken on an iPhone for the most part. The only weird thing we see up here is the multiple whiteboards kind of duplicating at the top. And also one thing to note is that this is a pretty high resolution image. This is higher resolution than what we get from DALL-E 3, for example, as a direct exact output. It's a really mind-blowing first look, and at first glance you're like, no, there is no way that GPT-4 Omni is just generating images like this, but apparently it's true, and there's a ton of examples. Again, guys, if we head over to that exploration of capabilities, we can actually go up and see that most of these examples are for image generation. Take a look at this first one. Input a first-person view of a robot typewriting the following journal entries. Yo, so like, can I see now? Caught the sunrise and it was insane, colors everywhere, kinda makes you wonder like, what even is reality? The text is large, legible, and clear. The robot's hands type on the typewriter, and what do you know? That's exactly what we get. I mean, this is a whole paragraph, guys, that we're seeing written out right on this typewriter. Yo, so like, can I see now? It's literally essentially perfect paragraph. The typewriter looks great. And yeah, the robot hands, it's a first person view. I mean, that's a very hard prompt. Try this in any image generator and you won't get anything close to this quality. Folks, this right here is Ideogram AI, which I widely consider to be the best model at generating text that we have access to today, even better than DALL-E 3, and it honestly doesn't even come close. This example right here might be the closest one, but still, no perfect text. Now we prompt this thing, we say, oh, the robot wrote the second entry now. The page has moved up, there are 2 entries on the sheet. So we keep that first one, we keep that first paragraph all coherent, and then we do a second one as well. Sound update just dropped. It's wild. Everything's got a vibe now. Every sounds like a new secret, so it screwed up a little bit there. Makes you think, what else? I mean, it's near perfect. This is a lot of freaking text, and also you'll notice that the typewriter here, while we don't see the robot's hands, unfortunately, it is the same exact typewriter, just a little bit zoomed in, and it's like, I don't even know how it's accomplishing this at this moment. I guess it's just because it's multimodal? Is that really the answer? Now we say the robot was unhappy with the writing, so he's going to rip the sheet of paper, and there you go, he absolutely rips it right in half. And this honestly might be the most impressive of all. Oh, and don't worry, folks, it gets even crazier. We do a cartoon mail delivery person and it generates this. I mean, this doesn't look like a great generation. DALL-E 3 could do better, right? But here's the crazy part. We re-upload that image as an attachment and we say, this is Sally and she's a mail delivery person. Oh, can you make Sally about to deliver a letter? And it does a consistent character, a consistent version of this character delivering a letter at the door. It generates that in the same exact art style. Oh, now she's being chased by a golden retriever. Oh, now she tripped. And I mean, look at the consistency here. It's the same art style. Looks like someone made the cartoon themselves. Oh, and now she befriended the dog, etc. Here she is in the mail truck. I mean, it's absolutely nuts. This is just the possibilities of multimodal GPT-4 Omni AI, and I can't believe they didn't show this off in the demo. I can't believe this was kept under wraps. We've also got some character design for Geary the robot, and this is very similar to that last example. We generate this initial image, and then we resubmit it in, and we say, oh, he likes to play Frisbee, he likes to work on the computer, he's riding a bike, etc., etc., and it's all of these similar outputs. And the character is extremely consistent over time. I guess this is the solution to consistent characters, just to have one multimodal AI that can do it all, folks. Is that it? Freaking mind-blowing. We can also upload a poem and then literally convert it into something that looks like a handwritten poem. Oh, now we can make the poem in dark mode as well, folks. And this is the exact same poem, but reversed. I mean, it's literally pretty much exactly the same. It looks more like a human recopying stuff than anything else, which is just super creepy. Oh, remove the outlines from the notebook paper now. I mean, imagine we submit our own photos. What can it do with that? And to think this was all hidden, I mean, it has way more examples too of this stuff. Again, doing the dark mode, this time with color instead. Here's a commemorative coin design for GPT-4o, and you can see that they were working on this, yes, like 5 months ago, back in 2023, and that's a nice little commemorative coin design there. We even submit the GPT-4 logo and say, like, we want to base it off of this. Not only that, it's able to produce the image in an insanely high resolution as well, giving us some hints at more multimodal, different art capabilities, speaker abilities, vision capabilities, hearing capabilities. You know, this kind of looks like it means multimodal. So this is like an updated coin for the 2024 release. We can also, you know, upload this photo of a young man with a beard and say, can you make it a caricature for a t-shirt? absolutely does that, no questions asked. Again, this multimodal capability kind of leapfrogs all these previous developments we made with traditional image generation. And again, we can do this yet again, and it does a really freaking good job. It looks like a human made it in this very creepy sense. Over and over again, the capabilities, like I said, are just absolutely endless. I mean, when does it stop, OpenAI, and why was all of this stuff hidden when it clearly it's some of the most impressive capabilities you have to date, or we've ever seen with AI to date? It's really weird to me that all this stuff was just hidden. Oh yeah, and things get even crazier. We can actually create entire fonts with this thing as well, and they come out pretty much perfectly. So yeah, if you're a font artist, I feel bad because this thing is actually ridiculously good at creating brand new fonts for you to use on the fly. I mean, the future is truly generative. We've also got the ability to upload both a logo and a photo you took of something and say, oh, can you do a mock-up of a brand advertisement? I mean, this just takes it to yet another level. This is something that we have been able to do with current modern solutions, but not all with just one model at once. And how fast does it generate this kind of thing? And when will we get access to it? I mean, what is this OpenAI? You're telling me that you just have these capabilities in this one giant multimodal AI? Like, we worked really hard to get this with traditional capabilities, and still, I don't think it's this good. I mean, that's one hell of a mock-up. It looks like someone saw both of these images and then tried to imagine what it would look like in their mind's eye, yet we can see the AI's mind's eye. Again, here's more poetic typography, multi-line rendering. This is similar to the typewriter example where we have two chat bubbles in the robot texting someone on the screen. And again, even the keyboard is accurate here. We've got the emojis down there. This is just absolutely nuts to me. It's absolutely nuts. This is so far beyond anything we've seen before, and OpenAI hit it inside of the website. Oh yeah, it gets even crazier, by the way. An image depicting 3 cubes stacked on the table, and obviously we say it's GPT with the correct colors, and it does this pretty much perfectly every single time. This is what they're showing you here, that they can get it right every single time. This is something that, you know, Stable Diffusion 3 or Ideogram AI was showing off as like, oh, we can do this every so often. It gets it right every single time. So it's way smarter, and it has to be because it's multimodal, right? Why didn't they explain this? Why wasn't this in the presentation? Yeah, we can also upload the OpenAI logo and say, can we do a concrete poem in the outer shape of the OpenAI logo composed of the word Omni, and then it absolutely does that. It creates the OpenAI logo with the word Omni. But what is this? This is so far beyond any image generation capabilities we've ever seen before, and it's hidden in the website. I'm sorry if I'm getting repetitive here, but this is when my mind gets blown. Oh, and you thought we were done there, right? Nope, this thing also can generate 3D. Since when? We only get one example of this, but it's very interesting. It looks like it has generated an image and then converted it to 3D somehow, maybe using code. I don't know exactly how this worked, but you can see, yeah, it can do actual 3D image generation, and it reconstructed it from 6 generated images. Oh, and it can do this again, but with a seal instead. I mean, it just shows you how far OpenAI really is. Like, I'm sorry, but you can't tell me that Google is this far ahead. You can't tell me anyone else is this far ahead. They're doing this all with one model. Again, one model. Oh, and I figured I would also include this with the 3D generation segment here. Minchua used GPT-4o to create an STL file for 3D model generation in about 20 seconds. And you can see it actually creates a 3D model of a table. And this still technically is text generation, but it shows you that you can use text to actually create 3D objects. Shows you the power of these models, the absolute power. It's shocking. And I know this deep dive is getting a little bit long, but we still got to talk about image recognition. Yes, this is image recognition that we've had for a while, but it is actually a little bit better than the previous image recognition we saw. And also, it is way, way faster image recognition as well, which, well, what is video? Well, it's a bunch of images consecutively, so it kind of also has video understanding to a degree, and we'll talk about that next. This is a nice little example by Etherica asking GPT-4o to solve undeciphered languages. Essentially, these are manuscripts from, like, you know, Mesopotamia or something. The Minoans, Easter Island glyphs, a disk found in Crete, and GPT-4 is able to use its advanced image recognition capabilities to kind of decipher these in some capacity, or to the best of its abilities. It uses logic and reasoning to try to understand them. It feels like, oh, I have this super genius companion that I can use for any odd task I have in my life. And here we can see TL Draw in a notebook connected to the new GPT-4o Vision API, and the video is at its original speed here, showing you how fast it's able to interpret everything that it sees. In about 5 seconds, GPT-4o is able to use code to essentially recreate all of these images. We draw a squiggle and it creates a graph with a squiggle. We draw a spiral and it does essentially the same thing, creates a little spiral for us with code. And of course, it's also able to create hello world for us. And yeah, it does all of that in less than a minute. Check out this 18th century handwriting. I mean, I couldn't read that if I tried, but guess what? Give it to the GPT-4o model and it can transcribe it with some very minor errors. So an almost perfect transcription. And how fast does it do this? Well, let's say about 5 seconds. Absolutely insane. AI Breakfast points out that the GPT-4o desktop app having this slow rollout on Mac, and apparently it is coming to Windows later this year, while it can read your screen in real time, which puts us one step closer to autonomous agents, as AI Breakfast points out. So it can essentially be your little real-time coding buddy, real-time anything buddy, real-time gameplay helper while you navigate an RPG, let's say. So many possibilities. Here you can see in a homework style example where it answers 3 math questions directly from the browser, and it got the answer right with great reasoning. Jacob also points out that you can feed it a photo of missile wreckage, and it's able to point out the missile's origin. Tell me your quick guess on where this missile was produced. 3 bullet points to prove it. Be very short. And then it knows its North Korean origin. The construction materials, design features, and the context. I mean, could I show you this photo and say, hey, where's this missile from? I wouldn't even be able to tell you this is a missile in the first place. This thing's a professional. Finally, guys, let's talk about video understanding. When it comes to video, GPT-4 really is kind of treading into uncharted waters. It's not perfect by any means, but the model shows a somewhat promising ability to interpret something that resembles video. And we saw that with the demos, like you can hold your phone out, you can show it things and be like, hey, what is this? And it can pretty reasonably help you out. I mean, it went as far as tutoring a child in real time quite successfully.
So I'm pretty sure this is the angle alpha right here, right?
That's correct. Now, looking at the triangle, which side do you think is the hypotenuse?
I think it might be this one, but I really am not sure. This side AC?
You're close. Actually, side AC is called the adjacent side to the angle alpha.
However, what we don't have the ability to do yet is to actually directly upload an MP4 file and have it natively understand that MP4 file. Even though image files and video files are quite similar, this model is not natively multimodal for that. You can show it a video if you want, and it will essentially take a bunch of pictures fairly quickly and try to understand what's going on. It's going to have difficulty picking up on those small little nuances, right? However, what is really interesting is that OpenAI, we know, is working on Sora, which is a very good text-to-video model. And Sora, well, has the ability to understand videos clearly, so flip Sora on its head. And what do we have? We have a model that can intake videos and then convert them and understand them as text. So OpenAI is just one step away from having a model that can natively understand video. Now, despite all of this, we have to understand these AIs still have limitations, of course. But what's important to note here is that GPT-4o is this large multimodal AI that is incredibly fast, and you have to wonder what is going on at OpenAI. Have they developed some methodology for developing new AI technologies that we haven't seen before? Something is fundamentally different here, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. How far is OpenAI ahead, and how long will it take open source to catch up to OpenAI? With that, folks, I hope you learned something here. I hope this was a little bit enlightening and dived a little bit deeper into GPT-4 Omni and how significant it truly is in the greater AI landscape, because it was more of a large drop than I think a lot of people realized. Leave a like if this helped you out. Also check if you're subscribed. A lot of people aren't subscribed and they still watch the channel, so I always try to remind people. And of course, check out the Discord server if you want to get a little bit more involved and active in the AI community as a whole. See you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.